The HOVERAir X1 PROMAX, is it the best tracking autonomous drone yet? Let's talk about that. Hey everybody, Marcus here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. The folks at HOVERAir were kind enough to send me this drone for review. As I said earlier, it's the HOVERAir X1 PROMAX. These names get pretty crazy, but you got to remember all, because it all makes sense when you talk about it, how it got to this name. The first version of this particular drone was out, I don't know, a year or two ago, called the HOVERAir X1. It was an autonomous tracking drone, shot at, I believe, 2.7K resolution, etc. Never had that drone, so don't really have any experience with it. Then they came out with the HOVERAir X1 Pro, shot in higher resolution, had a little bit of obstacle avoidance, was improved, and now this is the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max. This drone will shoot 8K video at 30 frames per second, and it has obstacle avoidance and some other features that have improved it a great deal. Now, when I think about this kind of drone, the first thing that comes to mind as far as competitors, you're going to remember the Skydio 2 when it came out probably 4 years ago. I have a lot of experience with this drone, and it was kind of the original autonomous drone. Skydio was kind of the first one that really came out with that autonomous feature that it could track you, get cinematic video, 4K camera on this guy. And then, of course, more recently, the little DJI Neo. And this little drone is a lot of fun, but I'll just say right off the bat, I consider this more of a toy drone. It's a lot of fun to play around with, and it'll shoot some decent video. However, this HOVERAir X1 Pro Max, it's in a whole nother class. It is truly a professional drone. So let's talk about it. So one of the things that when the Skydio 2 first came out, it brought processing power. The Skydio 2 has NVIDIA's Jetson chip in it. Well, that's one of the things that they did with the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max, is it has a much faster chip. And I'm looking down to read this. I've got it on my phone. It's a system on chip, and they're saying that it has it means that it's 14 times more powerful artificial intelligence than the previous model. So what we do know about these kind of products is the better AI they have, the more cinematic video they can get, the better video quality they can get, and the better that it's going to track you and avoid obstacles. So that's why that's important. And then, you know, I touched on the camera a little bit, and again, I'm reading this off my notes because I want to make sure I get it right. It will shoot in 8K 30 frames per second. It will shoot in 4K 120 frames per second. Well, honestly, most of my shooting will be in 4K. However, I will say there is a reason for 8K. Why do you want 8K in a drone like this? That's for cropping in. So if you're a professional and you want to frame that shot just right, if you're shooting in 8K, you can move the frame around, you can crop in, and you can still have a high resolution video. Then the sensor on the camera, it's got a 1/1.3 inch sensor, which is good size for a drone in this category. So it does have a digital screen right on the drone. So because it's an autonomous drone, you're not going to be using a remote control. You're not necessarily going to even use your phone, although it does have an app, but you can operate the drone, or a flying camera as they like to call it, and I would agree with that assessment. But you can operate it, and you can look at that digital screen, and you can see which feature you happen to be using at the time. Pretty handy, and plus you can adjust some of those features, in other words, distance, etc. Features a 16-minute flight time. That's pretty important on these kind of drones. 16 minutes is really, that's going to be enough to do most of the things that you want to do. It also features what they call the omni-terrain system, so you can send it out over a cliff. As you guys, anybody that follows my channel knows that I fly over the Snake River Canyon all the time. So with the omni-terrain system, it'll be able to fly over the edge of the canyon or over water, etc., and still maintain control. Like for instance, I'll give you an example, the DJI Neo, they tell you not to fly it over edges and not to fly it over water. This drone has that capability, and I think that's important because it will be used for action sports. So tracking speed is another important thing, especially guys that are on mountain bikes, snowmobiles, things like that, motorcycles, etc. You want to be able to track at a pretty good speed, and this flying camera will consistently track you at 42 kilometers an hour or 26 miles per hour. And then it has burst speeds up to 60 kilometers an hour or 37 miles an hour. That's pretty quick, and that's going to be enough in most situations. The other thing that's important with a tracking drone is that it has really good obstacle avoidance. And so this particular drone has front and rear obstacle avoidance. HOVERAir calls that active collision detection. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. We'll definitely test it out. Internal storage. 64 gigabytes of internal storage. That is awesome. I wish more drone manufacturers would do that. So in other words, you don't have to put, there's no more forgetting to put an SD card in the flying camera, etc. It has internal storage, and I've found 64 gigabytes is usually plenty. But if that's not enough, you can use a micro SD card up to 1 terabyte. So if you were out someplace and you couldn't download your footage for whatever reason, with a 1 terabyte micro SD card, you will be able to save, I think, all the footage from a whole vacation in that. The other thing to point out is this is a sub 250 gram drone. In many countries, that is really important because it changes the laws that you have to abide by. For instance, I know in Canada, you wouldn't even need any kind of a drone license at all. You could just fly this without issue at all. Here in the US, it means that you don't have to register the product. Yes, you'd still have to take the FAA trust test and know the rules, etc. However, you wouldn't have to register it at all. And finally, this has a number of intelligent flight modes, and we've so got used to those things. When we talk about autonomous flight, being able to do a quick drone pull away shot or an orbit or those kind of shots, the fact that they're built in here autonomously is really handy because it allows you to be a part of the action. You're at a family event or whatever, a family reunion or something, and you want to get a wide shot of everybody, you can just set this guy up and shoot in very high resolution and get some really fantastic shots. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying all that out, and we absolutely will. So I think the only thing left to do now is we want to get it out of the box. I always like to do an unboxing because I can tell you personally when I'm looking at products on YouTube, I want to see exactly what comes from the factory, how it looks, etc. So we will very quickly take this guy out of the box and we'll show you what we got. Then I'm going to charge some batteries up, and I don't know if we're going to be able to try out all the features, but we'll definitely do some tracking and some other things with the drone. One of the things that I appreciate about most higher quality products is the quality of the packaging, and I think it looks to me like HOVERAir has done a pretty good job with this one. And trust me, that cover was on there, it's a pretty tight fit. It took me a second to get that off. But here's the inner box, and it looks like we can just flip it up, and then we see what's going on here. Again, when we talk about high quality packaging, padding at the top, and then it looks like we have a case here. Please read before flight. You know, they want you to download the app, etc. And I would recommend that you do that. I like that they give you some basic instructions right there. And then below that, looks like we have some documentation, and this got a picture of a bag, so I'm sure that's a storage bag, and picture of some cables, so I'm sure that's some cables. Let me get that stuff out of there and we'll take a look. So let's start with what's at the bottom of the box. I know a lot of people like to put wraps or decals on their drones. They give you a number of them here included in the package so that you can personalize the flying camera how you like. Then of course you have full documentation here. And then with regard to cables, they give you a nice, and it's pretty apparent that this is a high quality cable, nice and thick cable, USB-C to USB-C, data/charging cable, and then you get a bag. So in other words, you're out in the field, you don't want to take the whole case with you. You can put the flying camera in that bag. And then they give you, interestingly enough, they give you a little sample of the frame around the drone, and they ask you to try and tear it or break it. So they're showing you that it's pretty tough stuff. Okay, I'm going to kind of get you a close-up of the sleeve here so you can kind of see those instructions. You know, it's giving you, telling you to charge the battery, of course, get the app, and then how to fire up the drone, and make sure that the app is connected. It also has a QR code down here for a tutorial, which is a good thing. And then one of the things at the bottom here is they're wanting to make sure that if you're going to fly it over terrain that doesn't have a lot of differentiation in it, etc., that you make sure that it is in omni-terrain. The omni-terrain icon is on. And I think that probably requires a certain amount of light, etc. And they don't want you going over water until you see that icon going. So good warnings there. Okie dokie, the case itself, you got a little loop there to carry it. Looks pretty high quality product. Just a single zipper on the side. Let's get it unzipped and let's take a quick look. And there it is. Yeah, they give you a nice 65-watt charge block. Now, a lot of products don't give you a charge block anymore, including your iPhone, etc. So I'm grateful that they include it. And then it looks like we have some more documentation here in the top. And then this is kind of a charge hub, and looks like your extra battery is in the charge hub there. And it's pretty clear you can charge both batteries. Now, I'm sure it probably charges them sequentially instead of both of them concurrently at the same time. Wow, this is my first time getting hold of the product here and, kind of seeing the actual size of it. So, yeah, definitely has definitely a feel of quality in it to it. This is no toy drone. And there's that camera. Let's unfold it for the first time. And there you go. Let me see if I can pick the lens up here so you can see the lens of the camera. Let's look at the bottom. Looks we got plenty of sensors. I see time of flight sensors. I see an optical flow sensor there. I like this grid pattern they put in the bottom there. I'm sure that's for ventilation. And then at the rear, looks like we have an obstacle avoidance camera there. And this, I assume, I don't know, but I'm wondering if that's some kind of LiDAR, etc., because it will have obstacle avoidance in reverse, which is something new to the ProMax product. And then again, here is the camera itself, and yeah, on a 3-axis gimbal, so looks quite good. And again, this has a very, very high quality feel to it. Let's see if we can pull the battery out here. Just pulls right up. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that in focus, but it's a 1920 milliamp hour battery. So one of the things I noticed is you're going to want to slide the back of the battery in first. Make sure you got those connections, and then press down. And when you hear the click, you know your battery is fully seated. And then again, this is the on-off switch, and then you have arrows pointing right and left to scroll through the menu. And this is the display. We'll get some batteries charged up before we fire that up, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, I love that this is a nice compact package, and again, I so appreciate that they include a charger with the kit. That's such a great thing. We seldom see that anymore. Okay, let's get it all charged up, and let's see if we can get out for our first flight. And as I usually do, you guys are going to see my very first flight with it. I know a lot of people will get out and they'll do a bunch of flights before they show you anything on film. I like to show you my first flight because if I run into an issue, chances are you may as well. So that's what we're going to do. Let's quit messing around. Let's get this bird in the air. Hey, okay, I'm out in the field with the HOVERAir X1 PROMAX Why do you make these names so complicated? I had to think about saying that name in the right order. But a cool little flying camera. You know, they call it a flying camera. They don't call it a drone, and I tend to agree with them. And to show you how portable it was, I just pulled that out of my pocket. I'm riding on my e-bike. I've got this camera mounted on my e-bike, and yeah, so here it is. You know, I did the firmware update in my office. It is a very cold winter's day. It's about 36 degrees Fahrenheit right now. What would that be? That'd be about 1 degree centigrade, something like that. I always get these new products in the middle of winter, right? It's never in the spring or the summer when there's good weather to go out and fly. However, that aside, we're gonna fly this guy. We're gonna try it out. And again, this is my very first time using this product. So bear with me, and we'll get this guy up in the air. We're gonna try a little bit of tracking. I know I can have it point towards me and be in front, and I know I can have it follow me. And I think it can go to the side as well. I'm going to try it out in the, check all that stuff out in the app. So if I stumble around a bunch in that app, I'll edit that out, but I'll show you the main points. And yeah, let's quit messing around. Let's get this bird in the air. So I've got the app open up, and it tells you there that it wants to make sure that Omni-Terrain is activated before you fly over water, etc. Well, we're not worried about that right now. So let's go into hover settings, and I can see right at the top there it lists everything we've got. We've got hover, which the drone would just, as it says, it would hover in place. Zoom out, which is like a drone-y orbit. Bird's eye, which would be like a rocket. Dolly track is the one where that it follows you from behind. And I think you can go in and change those flight modes. So this is where you can adjust them. So for instance, yeah, it's telling me that it's already set in 4K 30 frames per second. I think I want to change that to 60 frames per second. So let me see if I can figure that out. Okay, so in the individual modes, I don't know if I have to change the frame rate in each individual mode, but I'm going to change hover to 4K 60. Yeah, it's in hover mode. I don't know why it didn't take that frame rate, 60. I have to click confirm. Yeah, there it took it 60 frames per second. And I should be able to just tell it to take off now. So now in order to take off, I'm just simply going to hold down the button. Maybe. I just turned it off. Let's try that again. Okay, I'm going to do a short press, see if we can get it to take off here.
Continue. Hover.
There we go, and it counted down, and then it should turn around and follow me here. So you can see the little drone hovering there. Let me adjust the camera here, the action camera. I'm using the Action 4. So evidently you can't switch on the fly. So I am going to land the drone, and we'll try this over again. So in order to land, I just simply stick my hand under it, and there it's going to land. So looks to me, so then I got my icons back here. Let's switch over to, let's do follow mode. So it looks like you have to land every time you want to change modes. So that's good to know. Let's go ahead and launch it again. Okay, so it tells me it's in follow mode, and it says mid-range flat, which is probably a good way to start. So let's just do a really quick press here.
Middle. Follow.
And it'll take off. It's counting down. There we go. Okay. Let me put some gloves on, and we're going to try this out. So here we go. And my bike shut off while I was messing around there, so let me turn that back on. It's always something, isn't it? Okay, let's go. And I can hear the drone back there. And it has obstacle avoidance, so so you should be able to hear it. Now with it in follow mode, you're just seeing my back, and I don't know how, I don't think that's terribly interesting. I'm going to kind of move around some obstacles here, and we'll just see how well it follows. I can see it back there. It's pretty close to me. Let's speed up a little bit. This guy will do, I've got the bike in throttle mode. It'll do 20 miles an hour, which the drone should be able to keep up with that, no problem. Or the flying camera, I should say. So I can hear it back there, so it's not losing me, which is awesome. And then, turning back in here, we'll see if if we have any issues with trees or anything, and we didn't. Okay, I'm going to land the drone, and then we're going to put it in, I can't remember the name of the mode, I'll tell you in a second, but where the drone will be in front of me. Okay, every time I put my phone in my pocket, it disconnects. So I think mostly you're going to want to use the control on the front of the drone, but I want to make sure it's shooting in 60 frames per second. So we're going to go back in. Dolly track was the word I was trying to think of. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to set it to 4K 60 frames per second, confirm, and we're going to switch to dolly track mode. And it is set, so so we should be good to go. Let me put my gloves back on. We'll take off again, and we'll try this. Okie dokie. I'm learning. Just a short press, and we'll see if it'll take off here.
Middle, dolly track.
There we go. And let's see. It's tracking me all right. Let me adjust, make sure you can see me on the action camera. And let's go ahead and take off again. And it is. It's staying right in front of me. Lost my microphone. So, yeah, that's one of the hazards of this time of year. It fell off my jacket, so I'm glad I spotted it. But let's go ahead and go. And for whatever reason, it stopped tracking. Looks like it's landing. So, okay, it landed there. So, evidently, I stopped long enough that it lost it. So let's launch again and try that one more time. Okay, I think we're all set now. Let's get moving. And it's the drone. It reminds me a little bit of the Skydio 2, the way it's moving around trying to keep me in frame, because it doesn't know which direction I'm going to go here. I suspect that dolly track is probably better used. It's going to be more cinematic if you're doing it in straight lines rather than like this. So let's make the corner here, see if it'll get in front of me, and see if we can go a little bit faster and see how it does. It's really having to work to catch up, and it's not quite in front of me. So let's turn this way, see if it'll catch up. I gave it a chance to catch up, and let me speed up here. I'm doing about 15 miles an hour, a little less than, and it's doing all right. But you can tell it's fairly tentative in the way that it's trying to stay with me. So I'm going to say this is probably something that is better used probably at slower speeds is going to be my guess. Let's just go around the corner here. And It's amazing watching the little drone in action. I'm afraid that I could overrun it this way, because it's really moving around. And of course, you'll get to see that on the action camera. I'm making a turn here, and it's going to have to catch up, and it does. Let's just crank up the speed. We got a fairly clear spot here. It's trying. Yeah, we were able to kind of outrun it there. And boy, oh boy, it got close to me there. When I slowed down, it was within a foot of me. So I don't know that I recommend that. I would say stay at a fairly even speed. And I'm thinking that this dolly track is probably more useful at walking speeds. It works, but you can see it struggles at higher speed. Now I'd be more comfortable at higher speed with just the tracking. Okay, let's go out here in the field, and maybe we can try some of the other modes, some of the other intelligent flight modes real quick here. So let's, I'm going to get right out here in the middle, and let's stop here. Put down the kickstand, and let's land this guy. If I stop, I think it will stop. Yeah, so it came towards me there, which tells me it recognized that it was time to stop. And I don't know if, hopefully you got that on the action camera. I just put my hand under it, and it landed. Okay, I see the app is still connected. That's a good thing. So we're going to try a zoom out. And again, it's weird. I have to go into all of these to switch the resolution. So I want to go into 4K 60. Okay, let's launch it and see what we can do. Okay, I would have liked to have shown you those settings in a screen recording, but it just, every time I put my phone in my pocket, the screen recording stops, so it makes it a little bit difficult. I guess I could do a screenshot, but let's try this. So I'm going to fire up the drone in the usual way, and again, I've learned just a short press, and it should take off. And in fact, I'm going to face the other way so that you can see the drone. Short press.
30 feet. Zoom out.
And let's see what it does. There it goes. Took it just a second to take off, and so it's doing a zoom out. Now I've heard others say that when it gets to the end, it'll stop recording. And yeah, it should return, and I think it starts recording again on the return, but it's a separate separate file. Then it'll change it into two different video files. And look, it comes right close to me. Let's put my hand under. Okay, that was easy enough. Let's try a rocket, or whatever they call the rocket on the HOVERAir. And I'm going to take a screenshot of that page so I can show it to you. Bird's eye, that's what they call a rocket. And you can have it rotate, so we might try that as well. So, so we are going to change the resolution again to 4K 60 frames per second. I think 60 frames per second, anytime you're yawing the drone, looks a lot better. And no, I didn't confirm. You got to remember to do that. Hit confirm, and that changed it. And then altitude, we're going to go up to whatever the max is. It says 50 feet. Let's do that. No rotation. Let's do a slow rotation, and let's see what that does. So switching to bird's eye mode right now. And by the way, I could do that on the, we're down to 26% battery, although I do have an extra battery with me. We could do that right on the display screen and with the control on the HOVERAir X1 PROMAX. We might try that on the next one. Okay, let's try this again. And again, I'm smart enough now just to short press.
50 feet. Bird eye.
And it's hovering, and let's see how quickly it'll start rising, and it is. It's rising and it's looking down. Yeah, okay. Now it's starting up, and I can see it's doing a rotation as it goes up. So, yeah, there we go. And when it gets to the top, it'll come back down. And again, I've heard from others that it will create a different video segment, which I know some people didn't care for. And down it comes. Will it turn back to face me? And it did. And it looks like it's trying to land. It went way low, so I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna point the camera down. Hopefully you can see that. Let me,
Low battery.
yeah, so it's telling me low battery. Let me switch out the battery and we'll try a couple more things. Okay, the other thing that I want to try here is the orbit. All right, I'm reconnected to the hover, and let's go into hover settings, and I'm clicking on orbit, and I'm going to again switch into 4K, 60 frames, confirm. I'm learning as I go here, and then it gives us radius, and so let's do a big one. Let's do a 20-foot radius. Then we're going to do, for the angle, we're going to do a 360. Let's see what it gives us. Oh, so you can do the number of rotations. So what the heck? Let's do 720. Let's do 2 rotations. And yeah, flat shot or high or low. Let's see what flat does, and we'll give that a try. So I'm taking a screenshot so I can show that to you. And yeah, let's switch to orbit mode at the bottom of the screen there. And it's switched successfully, so let's give that a shot. Okie dokie, I'm going to get in kind of close here, and let's go ahead and hold that quick press of the button.
20 feet. Orbit.
And boom, there it takes off. And it's backing up. And it's flat. It's right about at the altitude that it took off from. And it's starting its orbit in a counterclockwise, and it's moving along. It's kind of hauling the mail here. It's going pretty fast, but doing a perfect orbit. This is remarkable. So this is the kind of thing with this drone that I think you're going to find really, really handy. To be able to do these kind of automated shots when you're with your family or at some kind of event and you want to get a different perspective than you can with just a handheld camera, this guy is really going to help. Be able to get an orbit, if you had a bunch of people at a wedding or something like that, wouldn't it be fun to get an orbit around them? And it should return to us here. And again, yeah, you can see it there. I'm just going to hold my hand underneath, and down it goes. Okay, I got one more thing I want to try. Let's see if I can figure out how to switch it into manual flight, and I'm going to try and fly it with the app. Okay, you're going to see, I'm doing it, finally got a screen recorder started here. You're going to see at the bottom manual control. I actually had to go in and unlock that. I think they make you try some of the automated stuff before you can unlock manual control. They won't let you do that right from the start. Kind of an interesting way, not a bad thing to do. So we're going to click on that, connect to the Wi-Fi. We need to do that. So yeah, join. So looks like we are connected, waiting to take off. So I'm going to set my phone down for a second. We're going to take off. I'm going to start recording. Yeah, it started recording, and let's go ahead and take off. Short press.
Manual control.
And it's counting down.
Please keep the device still.
Yeah, keep the device still, it says. One more time.
Manual control.
Okay, so it is not, it doesn't appear to be tracking me. Yeah, no, it's not tracking, so it's completely manual control. So what we're going to be able to do is with the controller here, and let me see, yep, just like I would fly any other drone. It looks like I have to start recording again. I didn't, for whatever reason, it stopped recording. So you're going to be able to see manual control here. Let's see if we can, I'm going to see if I can do a manual droney, reverse and up. And yeah, it's working okay. Let's bring it back forward. So move it sideways here a little bit. And if I'm a little tentative, yeah, see if I can drop the camera down. Yeah, so I can adjust the gimbal on the screen. And the controls seem to work okay. And I do not know exactly what resolution I'm shooting in, but we're going to give it a shot here. So let's back it up again and see if we can go up. And I don't know what kind of range I'll get here, but we'll try that. We're out there a ways. Let me see if I can do kind of a manual orbit around. Yeah, and that's working. We're kind of getting a little bit of an orbit here. Yeah, works quite well. So again, I don't know if this is something that you're going to use that often. I don't think it's really what this product is designed for. However, it does work. In other words, I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to manually fly a drone, you're probably going to choose something different than this, but it's good to know that you have that option if you want. Let's back it up again and up. And I don't know how far away it'll go. I can't tell you how fast it's going, but it's a ways away. And it's got a return to home option here. Let's try that. Let's see what it does on return to home. According to this, we're 46 meters away and 16 meters high. And let's hit return to home. And let's just see what it does. And it is. It's coming back to us, and it's coming back at a pretty good speed. Well, it kind of stopped. Yeah, no, now it took off again. So let's see what it does here. And looks like it's going to come straight down. Yeah, will it stop? It's right in front of the bike now. Let me, I'm going to put my hand under it. Okay, you didn't see that landing, but it was about probably a foot off the ground. I stuck my hand under it and it landed right in my hand. Now, would it have continued to land, and would it have just landed on the ground? I'm not sure. It stopped, so I think the way this guy works is you need to put your hand on it, under it. Let me get it all shut down and we'll do a quick conclusion. Okay, the HOVERAir X1 PROMAX, you know, I can see I'm going to be using this guy a lot. Will I be flying it like I do other camera drones? No, but will it be the one that I use when I'm chasing an e-bike or a skateboard or things like that, or even just doing a vlog? Yeah, pretty cool. Now, I've already seen video from this drone. I've looked at some other reviews, so I know how good the video is. So I have no reason to think the video that we did just now will be any different than that. I think it's going to look quite good. And, you know, when they attach a pro moniker to products like this, you're always a little bit skeptical, but I think this truly is. Being able to shoot in 4K 60, in fact, it will shoot up to 120 frames per second in 4K, is amazing. And again, like I said, you could go into 8K if you wanted to. What's that allow you to do? Well, as a professional videographer, which I'm not, by the way, it allows you to crop in and still maintain high resolution. Now, as 8K monitors come into effect, and they will as time goes on, it's kind of future-proof in that regard as well. But again, the folks at 00 Robotics Hover sent me this, and I appreciate that because I'm going to have a lot of fun with it, and you guys are going to see a lot more of this drone. This is just the first flight. We will definitely do some other things with this drone. So in any case, that's about it. This is Marcus with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out, and if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all, I appreciate you taking the time to be with me on this cold winter's day. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye now. Oh yeah, one more thing. We got to put the drone away. Fold it up, stick it in the pocket. Boom, we're good to go.